Hey everybody, welcome back to the STR investing community. You are taking our revenue management course where we are talking with Austin from Techvestor. They manage over 150 properties. They're some of the most profitable properties in the industry with some of the highest revenue. And so in previous videos, he's broken down things like seasonality and what is revenue management. But in this video specifically, we're going to talk through PriceLabs, a tool that he's used for a little over 5 years, how they leverage it and how you can leverage it in your day-to-day business. And so Austin, take us away, man.
Yes, I'll share my screen again. We're going to get into PriceLabs.
And just for those people that don't know, as you're talking about, what is PriceLabs?
PriceLabs is a revenue management tool. So it's kind of like a one-stop shop of everything that you really need for revenue management, setting up prices. If you use a property management software like Hospitable or Guesty, it'll push all these prices through to your PMS, and then that pushes your pricing through to any other OTA that you're on. So if you're on Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, Have Any Direct, it just pushes everything through. So you just set prices in one place and it'll push those prices through to everywhere, every platform that you're on. There's some other tools in here that I'll get into in another session of just why it's a one-stop shop. But at its simplest, it's really just a place to set your prices and view your competitors to see exactly where you want your prices to sit.
Cool, perfect. So this is going to be the tool or resource that you need in order to successfully manage the revenue for your property. And if you don't have a revenue management tool like this, it's going to make everything very manual and very time consuming and almost impossible to maximize revenue, right?
Exactly. So people can try to do, Airbnb has smart pricing, or, you just set your price for a flat rate for the weekdays, maybe your weekends, you price them a little bit higher. It's never going to be as successful as a revenue management software like PriceLabs, because what PriceLabs does is it's able to understand demand and as changes in the market. Let's say you have a much slower season this year than you did last slow season. A software like PriceLabs is going to understand that demand is down, and it's going to automatically shift your prices lower so that you are more competitive in the market. On the flip side, if there's an event that's a one-off that's never been in that town before, but all of a sudden the Super Bowl comes to town, PriceLabs understands that demand is picking up for that weekend, and it's going to automatically juice your prices up.
I love it, man. Okay, cool. So how do we use this thing?
All right, so getting in here, this is an example property. I'm going to go off of the previous session where we were in AirDNA looking at West Palm Beach. This is a 5-bedroom home that we have in West Palm Beach. We've had this home live for about 3 years, I want to say. So I feel very strong with our revenue management strategy for a home like this, where we've been through a full year multiple times. I understand seasonality here and how I use PriceLabs to leverage that. So just looking in here, it tells you property name is in the top left, and then this view here is calendar view. They have a few different views to set your pricing per property. This is my personal favorite. Just looking at a calendar, and you can really pick apart each individual day of the month to understand how each day is priced. Instead of, they have some other views, like you can look at it on like more of a year-long scale where you can't really get into the nitty-gritty of each day. I find so much value of getting in there and understanding each individual day. What's that demand? Do I need to increase or lower based on that day specifically? So this is calendar view here. Over here on this right-hand side, there are some pretty cool metrics that they show. So total occupancy for the past 30 days. If it's in the green, that means you're slightly above where the market ended. If you're yellow, it means I think you're hanging right around. Yeah, you're within a few percentage points of where the market is. And if you're dark blue, that means that you're well above where the market was, how the market's pacing. If you're in the red, which luckily we don't see in here, if you are in the red, that means that you're way under where the market is. So these are pretty good indicators. If you're just looking here of, let's say this home has been live, like this one, it's been live for a few years. It's not ramping up anymore. It should have enough bookings on the calendar that I don't want to see any red here. If I see that we have red over the next 30 days, that our occupancy is falling behind our competitors, that's telling me we're too high priced, because no one's booking us, but they're booking our competitors. So that would be a trigger for me to go in here and lower prices.
So it's basing the color scheme off of what the competitors are doing and off your historic data?
This here is just looking at market, so it's not looking at any historic data. Well, I take that back. Past 30 days is looking at how we actually performed over the past 30 days.
Okay.
So this is where we ended. So this is telling me we finished at 67%, market finished at 64%. So that's pretty good. I'm happy to see that. That's telling me we didn't necessarily underprice or overprice. We were pretty fair with market occupancy, and we were priced well to stay right there in the market.
Right, but if you saw 100% occupancy and you saw the market at 50% occupancy, that just means that your prices were way too low. And
it could. I feel like I have a pretty hot take on that a lot of other revenue managers probably don't agree with, but 100% occupancy isn't always bad. I would say it's when you get that occupancy. So if I'm looking here for the next 60 days out and I see 100%, but market's at 53% like we see here, that's telling me we underpriced. We gave it away for too low, too many people booked too far out. I don't want to see that. If I'm seeing this here and we're at 65%, but in 2 months I'm looking back and we actually ended at 100%, that's not necessarily a bad thing because my discount strategy was strong and I was able to fill every single day at the right time.
Gotcha. Okay, so how occupied you are is not necessarily a reflection of you being underpriced or overpriced. It depends on when it is. That totally makes sense, man. So
exactly.
Yeah, I like that too because I'm in the same strategy of our properties. It's like, why would we let these 3 days, why would we, it's Thursday, why would we let the next Friday, Saturday, Sunday sit empty? Like, let's just, even if we just make a couple $100 a night versus $500 a night, who cares? It's going to be empty either way.
The most expensive night is the night unbooked. That's I battle it out with our property management team that actually deals with the operations, and sometimes they want a day off so they can actually get in there and do some repairs and get the homes all cleaned up.
Sure.
The constant battle back and forth is I want every day booked. They want some availability to get in there, but I stand strong in that. I really think the most expensive day is the day that's unbooked.
Okay, I love that. Really, really cool. And so is this automatically adjusting prices, or do you have to come in and manually give this some inputs to set the prices up?
So a couple options. When you're first starting off, PriceLabs is going to recommend over here, you can set a base price, you can set a minimum, and you can set a maximum. It's telling me right here, I actually don't use this. I use some more complex customizable tools that I'll get into in a second. This is telling me it understands your property. So what it's basically looking at is a 5-bedroom home in this market. What are other 5-bedroom homes in this market priced at? It's telling me that it suggests that I use a base price of $468. That doesn't mean that every single day is going to be $468. That's kind of like your median point. So it's telling you if demand is much lower, let's say demand is 50% lower than every other day in that month, it's going to discount your prices 50% because demand isn't there. And then on the flip side, for a weekend, if demand is much higher, it could increase your prices 50, 70, 80% higher than that 468. That's just kind of like a midpoint of where you want it to start looking at. And then over here, minimum price, that basically means PriceLabs will never price your home below this minimum. That's like your safety net.
Right.
So even if, let's say you set your minimum at $200 per night, and based on, let's say there's very low demand, PriceLabs wants to take it down to $100 a night. It'll never go down that low because you already set the safety net to never go below 200. The flip side of that is maximum. I don't use maximum. I don't want to cap my prices. If PriceLabs thinks there's a Super Bowl coming to town and it wants to price me at $2,000, $2,500 per night, and it thinks we can get there, I'll let it do its thing. And you got to be a little careful with that. You don't want to go, too high, too far out. So that's something to keep an eye on. But personally, I don't use maximum because I think I don't want to cap myself in case there is some crazy demand that comes into town.
Cool. I love that. So you can use this tool pretty basically, right? Or you can give it a lot of inputs and really get the most out of it.
Yeah. So if you wanted just a starting point to go pretty basic, I would suggest using this base price to kind of give you a place to start. It's gonna, you plug that in there and it's gonna set your prices here, and you can see like how I'm doing already. You can go in here and override some of the prices that it suggests. So if we're looking at next week right here, any night that's grayed out, that means it's already booked. If you see this key, that means it's a check-in. If you see a bed, that means it's part of the same reservation. And I can hover over here to give me a little more information. If you hover your mouse over that the ADR of that day. What I find, this is a newer feature that PriceLabs rolled out. I find this incredibly helpful. It gives you a little bit of information up here. When did that booking come in? So I booked these 2 days at ADR was $328. This ADR is before any cleaning fee. It's just looking at your nightly rate. And it was booked on January 29th. So that was just about a week ago. I find that incredibly helpful because that's telling me, okay, I can still book this for $328 for the following week. So I'm looking at these prices here, and I think that's pretty fair that the next couple weeks of this month, we're pretty similar in that same ADR. I don't want to discount too much because I'm seeing in real time, we're still able to get an ADR right around there.
It's awesome, man. Super cool.
So what do these colors mean on this calendar? We have very light green here. That means it gives you a key down here. So that means your demand is the lowest you're ever going to see it. A little bit darker green means it's normal. If you see light blue, that means it's good. Dark blue means it's high. We're looking at this calendar here. We don't see any dark blue. That's because we already booked it. This is a peak season we're getting into. And we booked out this property really well. If I skip through to a future month, let's look at April. You can see these weekends, you're generally going to see this in most markets. You're going to see a lot of green and very light green during the week, and you're going to see some light blue and dark blue on the weekends because your weekends are generally always going to be higher demand than your weekdays. So that's what those demand colors mean.
You're booking out 2 or 3 times as much per night a few months later.
Oh, you're talking about what we have booked this far
I'm
out.
sure as far as the prices. If you gone back to February, you were in like the 300, 400, 500 range per night on the weekends, and then when you looked in April, you were well over 1,000.
Yeah, so it'll tell you here. Like let's take this weekend. We're February 5th today. If this night was unbooked, that's what this price is. It's saying PriceLabs would want to price us at around 500 for this weekend.
Understood. Doesn't mean that's what you actually booked it for.
Correct. If you look up here, we actually booked this weekend for over 1,000 per night.
Oh, damn.
So, and then again, you can see that data if you just hover over here. This says I booked this weekend on September 4th of last year.
Wow.
And even if you have multiple years of data, it tells you the year before that. Last year, I booked it at 907. So that's over $100 increase per night this year versus the year before for those same dates.
It's unbelievable. It's awesome.
So it's not tons of nitty gritty data you can get into there, but just trying to keep it super high level. That's really just a kind of 101 of how you get in here is set your base price there, and let it kind of take you away as a starting point, and then you can make some tweaks and get into some of the fancier tools they have that competitor calendar I might get into it.
Yeah, we'll jump into that on the next one. So thank you, Austin. Appreciate it, man. Super helpful, insightful for me as well and anybody watching. And guys, Austin's got a bunch of videos before and after this one, so continue watching them so you can learn what you need to know about revenue management.